Welcome in, y'all, to week 3 NFL picks. Take a quick look at last week. Went 13-3 picking the winners, so pretty good, and 10-6 against the spread. And that brings us to 20-12 overall picking the spread, 24-8 straight up, 20-12 against the spread. I'm fairly proud of so far. I know anything over 50% is pretty good there. So I'm liking the start. We're going to see if we can keep it going. Thursday night football, Dolphins at Bills. Man, this is one that it didn't look great at the start of the season, but boy, it looked better than it does now. This is just a rough one for Thursday night. It's got blowout written all over it. You know, sometimes I'm all for teams responding, playing well, and the Dolphins played better last week, but they just have not shown that they're going to be able to stay in games against teams like this. I think it's a blowout. Give me the Bills at home to roll. I think even if it's not a blowout, I think the Bills are scoring a bunch of points. So if it's not a blowout, they're going to have to give up a bunch. But give me the Bills 38-16. I think they cover a massive 12.5 point spread at home in the division on Thursday night. And then moving on to Sunday, we have the Bengals at the Vikings, a backup quarterback brawl in Minneapolis. You know, the Bengals losing Joe Burrow, that really hurts. Browning's going to step in, and he's been serviceable in the past with all the time Burrow's missed. And he played well last week. He, 3 picks, but he also led the comeback win. So, I feel decent about him there. You have Carson Wentz taking over for J.J. McCarthy in Minnesota, and I feel decent about that too. Wentz has been around. He's going to be fine, and I think he'll certainly maybe be better than McCarthy has been. So, not too much of a knock there. Minnesota favored by a full 3.5. Maybe that is them telling you that, hey, Wentz is going to be just fine, especially compared to McCarthy, and Joe Burrow being lost is a much bigger deal, which I would agree, but I also think the Vikings just have not looked great offensively as a whole. The Bengals, they start slow. They haven't looked amazing, but I think they're going to be okay. I just have more faith in Cincinnati right now. And I think they go on the road here and get a little upset win. 3.5 is a lot of points to overcome there, but I think they do go on the road and get that win with the backup quarterback. But really, it's hard to know what to expect from a game like this where you have 2 backups facing off. We'll see. But then you have Steelers at Patriots, 2 1-1 teams desperately needing that second win. This is important for a lot of reasons. First off, every game's huge, especially when you have playoff hopes. But these are 2 teams that both have hopes of kind of snagging that 7 seed or so in the playoffs and sneaking in this year. And whichever one loses this game is going to be facing an uphill battle for a while to overcome that. Because 1, this is a tiebreaker right here. And 2, you're just another loss, adding another loss to the docket. So, with Cincinnati losing Joe Burrow, I think that the gates have opened a little bit for teams in this realm in the AFC to kind of be like, okay, we got a chance here. So, a big game. Pittsburgh favored on the road by 1.5, and I think I agree with that. But this is going to be a tight one. It's going to be close at the end. I think it's going to be lower scoring, and just a gut feeling giving the Patriots to win it at home. The ugly game in week 1, they lost at home. They go on the road, get a win against Miami, where I think they played better this past week, and I think they carry it over at home. The Steelers just haven't impressed me. A lot of mistakes in Pittsburgh. Rodgers threw 2 picks last week, so give me the Patriots at home, but that's going to be a tight one. These first 2 Sunday games I've already covered really could go either way. Then we move on to this one. The Colts 2-0. They've looked amazing. Blew out the Dolphins, and then they beat a very good Broncos team. But they didn't punt for 2 weeks in a row. The Colts are looking great. It is a test, though. Going on the road. It's one thing to do those things at home, in the dome. You got your turf field. I guess it's turf in Tennessee, too. But they got to go on the road to Tennessee this week. It's probably going to be hot. It was hot last week in Nashville. You saw the Titans-Rams game. Not sure what the weather will be this week, but I expect it to be warm. On the road for the first time, so it's going to be tough. It's a test, and I really like the Colts. I like what they have going on there, though. Tennessee, they have promise and all, but it's just all around not a great team. I think this one kind of stays close for most of the game, and then towards the end, the Colts kind of step away, and they end up winning this one 26-20, so they cover that 3.5. The Colts had too good of a start, I think, to squander it on a road loss to an 0-2 Titans team who probably won't have many wins this year. So yeah, I'm going to take the Colts there. Then Texans-Jags. This is a big one, especially for the Texans. Texans starting 0-2. 2 close losses, but 2 losses where they could not get that offense moving. Defense looks fine. We expected it to be good. But the offense is really concerning. The Jags squandered a chance to go 2-0. Started 1-0 with a great win over Carolina. And then in week 2, Burrow goes down and they cannot capitalize. They lose late to Cincinnati there. But this is at Jacksonville. This is really a chance for the Jaguars to do multiple things. One, you get a tiebreaker win over the Texans, which they play again later in the year, of course, so they'd have to do it again. But you win this game and you're 2 wins up on them 3 weeks into the year. That's big. Texans lose this game and all of a sudden you could be talking, is it Jags or Colts for the AFC South? The Texans are fading. So we'll see. I do believe in the Texans to rebound, but I don't know about it in this spot. I think they'll be fairly fine throughout the year, but I do like Jacksonville at home in this game. I think they're coming off a tough loss. I think they've played a little better in Houston. Jacksonville's been a little sloppy here and there as well. Lawrence hasn't looked amazing. But I think the Jags get it done at home. But again, another tight game. This week is full of close games that could go either way. I think a lot of people's pick records are going to drop down this week, probably including my own. A lot of tough games. Then next up, huge one here, Rams-Eagles, 2 NFC contenders. Kind of a weird one to be at 1 o'clock Eastern. But this is in Philadelphia. Philly favored by 3.5, their first home game since opening night. And these teams met 2 times last year, Philadelphia winning the first one in LA, and then Philadelphia surviving the second one in the snow in the playoffs. And I think closer to the playoff game, this is going to be a tight, close game. I've gone back and forth on it because the Rams did not prove they could beat the Eagles last year. I mean, it came down to the wire, I understand, but the Eagles did control that playoff game for most of the way. But at the same time, the Rams made a lot of offseason moves to beat the Eagles, shoring up that run defense. And, of course, the addition of Devontae Adams, I think he is a big upgrade over Kupp. But this is a big game for record, for tiebreaker seeding, but also just it kind of shows you, are the Rams up there with the Eagles or not? And I think it's a coin flip type of game, but I think it's a good spot to pick an upset. So I'm going to take the Rams on the road here. Don't feel amazing about it. I think this is going to be one of those games that it's going to come down to the last possession one way or another. And it's just a matter of how that last possession goes for whoever has the ball. So we will see, but I'm going to take the Rams in an upset there. That should be a really fun early window game, though. Early window game that shouldn't be that much fun, though. Bucks hosting the Jets, wearing the creamsicles. Jets, it sounds like they might be missing Justin Fields. Haven't heard officially on that, but I think he's sounding a little doubtful. He's in concussion protocol at the time of making this. Bucks favored by 6.5, coming off 2 tight wins to start their season 2-0. Definitely the front runners for the NFC South. And they're just a better team here. The Jets looked good in week 1. They looked horrible in week 2. They did not look good whatsoever. And I think they fell back to earth after squandering a week 1 win. This one, the Bucks haven't exploded really on offense yet. So I'm still waiting for that. They scored, low 20s, both of these for, I guess, So we'll see, but I do expect the Bucks to win, and I think they cover as well, favored by 6.5. I think they win this one 26-16. I think it's one of those, they're kind of up by 2 scores the entire game, and they don't necessarily stretch it out big time, but the Jets don't really eat into it. It's just one of those games the Bucks have the whole way, but you can't necessarily turn your attention away from because, they could get lucky and come back. But I think the Bucks relatively easily win that game. Then Falcons, Panthers. This is one right here, man. I don't. That's a lot of points for Atlanta. that 5.5 on the road against the team that beat Atlanta in the last game of the season last year. I know they were both eliminated. Things were different. Teams have changed. But you got to keep that in mind. The Panthers, though, they've looked bad. They've looked really bad. They looked horrible in week 1. They did not look good in week 2. I think the score is super misleading. 27-22 is the final, but it was 27-9 going into the 4th, and I think that's a much more accurate score. They got lucky to get that close. And the Falcons have looked good. They almost beat the Bucs in week 1, and then they dominated, at least defensively, they dominated the Vikings in week 2. Wish their offense got going a bit more. Haven't seen too much from that offense. The running game was going last week with Bijan, so that was good to see with them. So we'll see this week. I do like the Panthers for sure to win, and I'm taking them to cover. I'm taking like a 9-point win here. Don't feel great about it because the Panthers, I don't know. I don't know. I don't feel great about it, but I'm going to take the Falcons here. I think the Panthers just have potential to break out one of these games. Don't know when it's going to be, but I think they showed last year they have that potential. But until proven otherwise, I think I can't take them to cover that. So Falcons win by 9 in Carolina. Then we move on to Vegas visiting Washington. Last week kind of showed what I feared from them, that they're a very good team. Do not get me wrong, they're a very good team, and Jaden Daniels is amazing, but the roster has holes, and they are not a top 3 team in the NFC like a lot of people had them going into the year. I saw people having Washington at like 13 wins, which is crazy. So I think they're kind of in that spot where they're better than the bad teams, but not quite as good as the great teams. Kind of a weird spot to be. Raiders, they're middle of the road. They're going to win some games. They'll be in almost every game this year, just like this one. Washington's favored by 3.5. I think this game does kind of come down to the end. Raiders offense couldn't get moving against the Chargers last week, or last night on Monday Night Football. So I don't know about this one. Washington's a little weaker on defense. So give me Washington, though, to win this one. And I think they cover as well. I just have more faith in the Commanders and Jaden Daniels than I do the Raiders. But just like we saw in week 1, the Raiders are going to go win some games like this. They went into New England and won that one. So we'll see. But I do feel fairly comfortable about Washington taking care of business there. And then moving on, Packers visiting the Browns. Packers, they might be the best team in football right now. They look very, very good. You could argue a potential trap game here, but at the same time, it's so early in the season. I don't know about a trap game, especially when you had extra time to prepare. They've been off since last Thursday. So I think they have no issue here. I think their defense is just going to shut down the Browns. I don't think the Browns are going to score too much in this game. So that's why I have the final score here being 27-10. I think the Packers just slowly and surely march down the field, put up points, because the Browns defense is no pushover. But the Packers, they'll eventually put up a decent amount. I have them at 27, and they'll hold the Browns pretty low. That's why. So 27-10, Packers cover 7.5. I don't expect a trap loss here. And then moving on to the late games, we have Denver visiting the Chargers. Great game right here. Very, very good game. Maybe the best game of the late window. This is good. I mean, it's a divisional matchup, week 3. Big game. Bigger game for the Broncos than it is for the Chargers. Although, at the same time, it is in LA. You lose this one at home, that's tough. So it's a huge game for both teams. Broncos need this one. They got to avoid falling to 1-2 with a divisional loss. Chargers, you don't want to have a divisional loss at home early in the year. Then they get passed up by the Broncos here. So big one. Line at 2.5 Chargers. I think that's perfect placement. This one's super, super tight. I think there's a slight edge to the Chargers, but it really, really could go either way. I think this game's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to be close throughout the whole thing. Almost similar to that Broncos-Colts game last week is kind of the vibes I get from this one. As far as how the game goes. And, I'm going to go with the Chargers here. I've just been more impressed with the Chargers than the Broncos. The Broncos losing last week. I know the leverage call, but it happens. They shouldn't have put themselves in that spot. And week 1, they didn't look great against the weak Titans team. So we'll see there. And then the Chargers, they've looked very good. They've looked very good through 2 weeks. So I'm going to go with the Chargers at home to win and cover against the Broncos. But then moving on, we have the Saints at the Seahawks. And the Saints are 0-2. Both technically one-score games, but both at home. The first one played a clean game, still lost. Second one, they were playing a hospital squad for the Niners, and they lost there. So tough 0-2 start for the Saints. It's going to be a rough, long year. Now they're traveling to Seattle, where they are 7-point underdogs. And I think this is a low-scoring game. I think it's a game where the Seahawks defense really shuts down the Saints for the most part. And I don't know that the Seahawks offense explodes either. I don't know if it's quite good enough to do that. So that's why I kind of have this lower scoring final score here. But I think it's a game the Seahawks kind of dominate from start to finish. And they cover that 7 points. We'll see. Maybe the Saints put up a fight like they did against the other two NFC West opponents in New Orleans. So, yeah, we'll see. This one's just on the road, which gives me a little less faith in the Saints. But not too interesting of a game here unless the Saints really pulled one out of their hat. But then moving on, we have the Cardinals visiting the Niners. This is a big one. I have not heard yet if Purdy's back in, but judging by the line movement, I'm going to say he is. Cardinals were favored by 1.5. Now last I've seen, Niners are favored by 2. So assuming Purdy is in this game, I think it might go up even more. We'll see. But 2-0 NFC West teams. The winner of this game will sit in first in the division for the time being. They could be tied with the Rams if they won in Philly. But either way, this is a huge early divisional game between these two. Cardinals are trying to prove that they really turned a corner, and this is the year they can do something. And a win here, starting 3-0 with a road divisional win, would go a long way to proving that. And the Niners are just trying to prove they can, tread water and keep things going while they're injured. All these new players to go through all of that and to still be 3-0 at the end of it with 2 divisional wins, I think is a big win and a great sign for the Niners this year if they're able to do it. So, very big game in Santa Clara. I think this is the better of the 2 Fox games. I'm pretty sure Burkhardt and Brady are going to be at the Cowboys versus Bears game because that was originally planned to be the prime 4:25 Eastern game. But this is a better game, a more exciting, more fun game in my opinion. It's going to come down to the wire. I'm going to take the Cardinals on the road with an upset victory over the 49ers. I like what's going on out there in Arizona, and I still don't know if I have full faith in the Niners. So we'll see. I think it's going to be tight regardless. Huge game there, and I like the upset pick with the Cardinals. But like I said it earlier, a lot of close games this week that could go either way. I think it's going to be a very difficult week to get 13 picks right, like last week, for example. So we'll see. This one, another close one. Cowboys, Bears. Not quite as high quality as the others, some of the others, but still a very tight, close game. Bears are actually favored by 1.5, despite getting just slaughtered by the Lions in Detroit. Detroit definitely took their anger out on the Bears there. The Cowboys survived an overtime thriller against the Giants. That game was a blast. And now they're traveling here to Soldier Field. The Bears, I was going to say the Bears need this one, but both teams really need it. The Bears start 0-3, and their season's kind of over. The schedule is very, very difficult. They're not bouncing back. They will not be making the playoffs if they start 0-3. I can promise you that. The Cowboys, they could lose this one and still go to the playoffs, but it'd be a really bad sign. You start 1-2 with the loss to the Bears here after the Bears have looked so bad. That'd be a really tough look for them, and I think their season outlook would be fairly grim after that. So big game all around. Very curious to see how this one goes. I am a little scared of it because the Bears are favored and the Cowboys have just looked better than the Bears have so far. But I'm still going to trust the gut. I think the Cowboys go in there and win. I think they win this one 30-24. I have it a bit on the higher scoring side, mainly just because, both defenses gave up a ton of points last week, which maybe means it's the opposite this week. Maybe they have a lot of defensive focus, and then this ends up being a low-scoring game. We'll see. But yeah, I feel fairly good about the Cowboys winning that one. but it makes me feel less good that the Bears are favored in it. So we'll see. Chiefs, Giants, Sunday Night Football. I hate that this is a Sunday night game. I get it. They're getting a New York team on there for the ratings. Giants have some national following. Chiefs have some national following. Should get decent TV views. But even if it's close, I'm just not excited to watch the Giants on primetime. I'm just going to be honest with you. Not excited about the Chiefs either. But this one, Chiefs favored by 6.5. They're 0-2, and you might be thinking, they come out hard and they come out and they blow the Giants out. But the Chiefs, from last year, from what we saw, the days of them blowing teams out routinely seem to be behind them. They're big on winning these close games, one-score games, although they're 0-2 in one-score games this year so far. It could be sneaky. I think the Giants, could sneak this one out. I'd be a little surprised. I think the Chiefs do win, but I'll keep it within the 6.5. So Chiefs win this one 24-19 on Sunday night. Maybe keep it a little interesting. I hope it's close. Never like when the Sunday night games are blowouts. But then Monday night, Lions, Ravens. Very different outlook on this one. After week 1 versus after week 2. The Lions looked horrible in week 1. Then they bounced back in week 2 in a massive way, putting a 50 burger on the Bears. And they're now only favored by, or underdog by 4.5 in Baltimore. Baltimore might be the most talented team in the NFL. They blew out the Browns last week. On paper, it definitely wasn't a statistical blowout. Just a lot of Cleveland mistakes led to a lot of the Baltimore capitalizing on it, which is what good teams do. So this is one here. I do worry for the Lions, and I think the line kind of shows it too. 4.5 is a lot for two good teams. I worry what happens here is similar to that Packers game. I think the Ravens have the team structure and the ability to do to the Lions what the Packers did, but we'll see. I do have it a bit higher scoring just because Ravens defense week 1 gave up a bunch of points. Lions scoring a bunch of points last week. Kind of a tough read on the score, high or low on this game, but I do like the Ravens to win it, and I like the Ravens to cover. I have them winning this one by 10, 34-24, and I feel fairly good about that. I think I'd be surprised to see the Lions go into Baltimore and come out with a win. Wouldn't be surprised to see the Lions cover, I guess, necessarily, but I just think the Ravens are too good, and at home, out in prime time, I think they win this one. And the Ravens in the regular season are very good against good teams, it feels like, in the past. I mean, you remember last year in the regular season, and they were on pace to do it this year. They blew out the Bills at home in the regular season before losing to them in the playoffs, and like I said, they were kind of on their way to beating the Bills by a decent margin before that late comeback. So we'll see. 34-24 is what I got here. Let me know where you disagree on the picks this week. I'm sure there'll be plenty of disagreements for week 3 because, like I said, a lot of close games, a lot of toss-ups, and I think I have 4 teams that are underdog winning their game. I'll have to go back and check, but I'm thinking I have Bengals, Rams, Cardinals, Cowboys. Those are all teams underdogs, and I have them all winning. I'm not sure. I'm trying to think if I'm missing any, but either way, that's a lot. So either I'm going to look like a genius or I'll just remember I should have taken the favorites. So we'll see. Should be a super fun week. A lot of close games. The primetime games aren't the best, like I've said before, but I think the noon window really is the best window this week. But looking forward to another great week of football.